We eat on the go, in front of the screens, often at a different time.
And that really is a challenge for today's parents.
Family dinner starts sounding like the box to tick.
We're not meant to sit down and meal unless we've had the smells, unless we've participated in a little bit.
No talking, just eat, keep it tidy.
The stomach needs to be happy to do its job.
When the child starts playing with food.
It seems to be that it's the time that we get everything done that's about parenting, and that's a mistake.
How can parents gently bring everyone to the table?
Maybe we need to turn the television off, and just have this time. It's the only time. Oh, the favorite recipes is I love food, so I can say what's my favorite food.
How does your family usually celebrate Christmas?
Nothing commercial,
What do you think about wish lists?
Wish list is concerned, this is a problem. The shortcut. We're trying to keep from actually thinking about the other person.
It feels like so many families have quietly lost their little traditions. We eat on the go, in front of the screens, often at different times. Those gentle rituals like sitting down together, sharing family dishes, repeating the same small family moments, seem to be spinning away. Why do you think we humans long for rituals so deeply, especially around food? What do they give us, both as children and as adults?
Well, rituals give us freedom from thinking about the outcome. A ritual is a wonderful thing because you've got a beginning and an end. Something happens, but nobody knows what happens, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And the problem with one of the problems that we're losing culture is that culture doesn't say this is what this ritual is for, to greet, to collect, to bridge, to match make. It's to get the eyes to smile, and so on and so on. So we think, well, the culture or the ritual may have gone with the religion, and I don't have a religion anymore, or now I've married out of my particular, ethnicity or whatever it is, and so then everything is work. I have to think of all the outcomes, like what do I want to happen, and I have to think of it all the time, and I'm commanding everybody around. And a ritual is to get group action, and it orchestrates like a choir conductor, right? It orchestrates the action. So it's one of the most important things to restore, actually. The good thing is that we can restore it. We can do family-based, and with children, if they've done one thing, I mean, sometimes it's only once, not twice, and it for them is a ritual. So in our day and age, we need to figure out, okay, I want the family to gather here. I want us to be attending to this at this time, or getting ready for a story or for a family, family thing. And we need to think of those. So we think one time of what it is that I want to happen and the outcome, and then think of a way of doing it that could be ritualized. And that really is a challenge for today's parents. We're all falling out of our culture because the whole point of it is that the wisdom of culture is hidden. And so we don't see it, but it ends up we have to reinvent it.
Yeah, and we can't rely on it anymore because we can't take it for granted. We can't. It seems that sharing a meal isn't really about food at all. It's about connection, about that deep sense of belonging. But in today's busy world, gathering everyone at the same table can feel like a battle, like a chore. Kids are lost in their games, adults in their phones, and family dinner starts sounding like another box to tick. How can parents bring back that warmth and sense of invitation so that the table feels like a place everyone wants to come to, so that dinner become not a rule to follow, but a natural meeting place where we are nourished not just by food, but by being together?
And that points actually back to the last question. It's the most important element of care to ritualize is the nurturing of another, the feeding of another. because that's the worst place that we should be bossing others around, commanding, getting into the work mode. The preparation of the meal should probably be part of the ritual. One of the ways to reinstitute those rituals so that individuals know, okay, this happens before that happens, before that happens, is you got to get 2 or 3 things that happen before you actually sit down. So it's not just sit down. And at least one of those things has to be in the play mode, because play is ultimately engaging. So there has to be a sense of the children, or even of sitting down, of what happens first is, that there is a sense of playfulness, and in the play mode before they begin. It may take some time, but it's the most important thing, because as the questioner suggests, the meal, the food, is just one aspect of it, and actually more an excuse than anything else, because we can easily grab and run. We can easily get the stuff we need, and in the future we probably will take it in pill form, because our food will have been so poisoned that it won't be trusted. So we just take it. But of course, when we'll discover that it wasn't about the meal at all, it wasn't about getting the stuff into our body, it was for a time when we can collect each other, when there's a sense of nurturance, of belonging, of shared experience, shared stories, of the kinds of things we do. But it's best when you start young, and it's best to start ritualizing, first of all, 1 or 2 meals a week. At least 1 meal should be in the feast style, where there is more that you provide than can be. So there's a bit of fun to it, and there's a bit of decoration to it. And, you can use all kinds of excuses, of course, of what this meal is about and who is being celebrated, including a little stuffy toy, that just had a birthday. I mean, there's so many things that can be done. But there needs to be some playfulness to be able to bring that sparkle out in us, because if we don't have this, everything is work, command, demand, and we're trying to orchestrate things, and that's the worst kind of scenario.
Yeah, so I like your idea that it should be like a sequence of events
Yes.
going toward the table, not just like, okay, we have to sit
No.
down, like everything is ready, we have to sit down. It's just like we can start a
Yeah.
half day before, even a day before, and
Yes.
then just, okay, tomorrow we're having this and this, and then, okay, like in the evening we're having this and this, and before we're like going somewhere
Yes.
or going to the park and getting out like ice cream or
If
something
you
like,
can bring those kinds of things
yes,
in, and the preparation is so important. We're not meant to sit down and meal unless we've had the smells, unless we've participated in a
yeah,
little bit. It may be simple for a 2-year-old to do a taste test to see if that sauce was to her liking, like that people have to stop by the kitchen first, and they all have their little things about making sure it is and what is carried to it. There's so much that participation, and if each one has a way of participating, and especially in terms of the, the getting the taste, the saltiness right, or whatever it is. Um, and if we're really having trouble with a particular child, figuring out a way to make a dish together, figuring out a way to prepare something together, so there's pride in bringing it to the meal and to serving others. Kids usually just love that and love to be part of the one that actually serves the other. But we've made the meal so truncated that we don't get the whole attachment Dad said there. We should think of it as the meal and that surrounding it is about the oldest dance. And this is
yes,
the time of the day we get to dance. And how do we dance, and how are the little ones a part of it, and what stories are told, and who gets to be first in terms of telling the stories. And then, we always know when it works, because people, our family lingers at the meal. And when we were in Provence, the meal always ended with me reading. And I found I could read up to about 45 minutes. I could read, and here we were, like in the old style French 2-hour meals, which was unheard of, really. And it was that's what everybody remembers from our time there. because we were fortunate enough to be in the midst of a culture we didn't know, so we could invent our own. So there was nothing to go to, and isolated by the foreign language. So, but again, all of this is doable. We're creatures of culture. We just have to take responsibility for it.
Yeah, remind me that I always judge restaurants by the smell. You walk in and okay, does it smell good? And there's nothing worse than to eat in very like where you cannot smell, like in canteens or somewhere at the airport, right, where there's no smell of food, and you just see it, but you can't really smell. Yeah. A shared meal can be such a beautiful moment, a time for a child and for all of us to feel seen, heard, relaxed, and connected. And yet in many homes, meal times still comes with those quiet rules. No talking, just eat, keep it tidy. Parents often say it's about manners of safety, but sometimes like something important gets lost in all its silence. What would you say to parents who find themselves in that space? How can we keep mealtime peaceful and safe, but still leave room for stories, laughter, and the kind of connection that feeds the heart?
Well, it's understandable that we get ahead of ourselves and become agents of socialization rather than a sense of celebration of life, of vitality, of relationship. The stomach needs to be happy to do its job. It really needs to have a sense of the joy of the occasion. And I think part of it is the meal should not be when we teach anything. Because to teach something is an outcome-based activity. If there are manners to teach, if the fork has to be held a different way, there are ways to do that outside of the actual meal itself. If a child is bracing to be corrected, to be criticized, there isn't a sense of celebration, a sense of the dance of the relationship. So all of these things need to be done, and they can be done in different ways. You could have a little game in which you test the manners if you want, and and do it with some stuffies or whatever it is. There's ways to get things done, but the meal should be off limits. It should be sacred. This is not a time for teaching a lesson. It's not a time for socialization. It is a time to engage, a time to be able to get across that, look, here's the food, but I've invited you into my presence. This is the food is my indication to you that I'm taking care of you, and my taking care of you includes being able to have to have you feel the warmth of my being, the sense of my delight in you and in the presence. And so if we give ourselves some time off, it really helps as parents. Like, no, not all the time, right? Figure out your time. Kids aren't dumb, they'll figure it out. But meal should be off limits.
Some parents get anxious when their child starts playing with food. Poking, mixing, building little towers of patterns on the plate. Could that be part of how a child explores and feels safe, maybe even builds trust and connection? Or are there limits that are still important to hold on to? In our culture, like in Slavic cultures, playing with the food means like you're wasting food. You're not respectful to the food.
Well, I think if there's something that is happening there, the first thing is can I deal with it indirectly? If it's a small child, can I just take them on my knee? Can I read a story while the food gets done? If it's an older child, then register it. And then after, when you've got a good collection, say there's something we need to talk about. Get a good intention to do it in the way you want to do it, but do it as much as you can outside of that place. Again, the meal is... In today's day and age, the meal is a time we get together. So it seems to be that it's a time that we get everything done. That's about parenting. And that's a mistake. That's the mistake, because the meal is the one place where it really is about the child, feeling like you're absolutely crazy about them, and you love them so much. You want to you want them to love what you give them and offer them as well. And so we lead with that kind of celebration and invitation. It doesn't mean that there aren't things to be dealt with, but if you do it in the meal, it spoils that time when the nurturing of the physical being is supposed to match the nurture of our soul, the nurture of our psychological being. It's supposed to come together because, again, we know that our stomach has to be happy to be able to do its work. It's not sitting there like, oh, I'm doing this wrong, or mommy's going to yell at me, and so on. Like, that's the worst thing for our health and well-being in every which way, shape, and form.
There are families today who don't really have shared traditions or mealtime rituals at all. Food has become mostly about filling the stomach and moving on. If a family wants to start rebuilding that sense of togetherness, where would you suggest they begin? How can parents gently bring everyone to the table and help rediscover the meaning of those small grounding rituals?
Well, discussions between mom and dad, if there's both a mom and dad there, and if they're capable of having good discussions together, it's a problem to be solved, right? And a problem to be solved needs a time and a place that we can talk about this. Maybe we need to turn the television off, and just have this time. It's the only time, we have. Uh, we're very creative as human beings. If we can get on the same page as what we would like to happen, and we give ourselves time. The problem with today's parenting is you want the right answer. The answer is grown out of discussion and experience. And so you grow an answer, and you have to count on at least 9 times doing things wrong to get a 10th time, that goes right. And everybody thinks that there is an answer. Life is too complicated. No 2-year-old is like another 2-year-old. No 15-year-old is like another 15-year-old. The dance that everyone is doing in the family is a unique dance. It hasn't been done before. And when you give yourself a break and realize, okay, we would like to introduce some culture into our family. We would like to have this for everybody's sake. We would like to have a few rituals. It can be an enjoyable time if we have patience with each other, and if we give ourselves a little bit of time to try something, and it's all trial and error, and then have a debriefing time where we say, did that work? Did that not work? What worked about it? Shall we try this? But that attitude is rare these days because of the idea that I'm ignorant, I don't know how to do this, and there's a right way. There is a sense of failure rather than the sense of, no, that's how we get anywhere, is we fail. Trial and error is 80% error. It always is that way, and it's an approximation, and to be patient. So it's a problem to be solved. Culture solved this problem with us when it evolved for thousands and thousands of years in sync with developmental processes, as long as it wasn't serving some army or military or, trying to grab property. But if it did, it's organic, more like indigenous cultures are, but we don't have that culture. And when we think that it took thousands of years for culture to get it right, we need to give ourselves, a few weeks for us to get it right.
Yeah, I'll often say that parent is a labyrinth. You do not really
That's right.
know where to. You have to try. And also, no one is born as a perfect parent.
No.
There's no such thing.
And even if you were a perfect parent, you still have to do the trial and error, which is 80% failure rate. In normal trial and error, when it's not too complicated, they estimate that it's 80% failure rate. So when it is complicated, you probably have a greater failure rate than that, which is just part of the labyrinth, part of the maze, part of the no, that didn't work. And so being able to say that didn't work and not taking it personally, Being able to say it didn't work and not feel guilty about it, just a tinge of disappointment will do, because then you let go instead of trying the same thing over and over again. And that's another thing that's brought into today's parenting, is that you need to be consistent. And consistency actually is a euphemism for stuckness. It's doing the same thing over and over again that doesn't work. And it comes from the idea that, well, if I just try harder or do it louder, then maybe it will work, instead of like that simple thing. Well, oh, that didn't work. That didn't work. Let's try something a little bit different.
What family traditions do you personally hold dear? Are there rituals or like small like customs that help you stay connected with your loved ones?
Oh, that's a personal question for me.
Yes.
Oh, so now I need to reflect. Think forward, reflect on this. Oh, gosh, there's so many rituals that are there. I mean, the rituals of the garden, the rituals of the care of the home, the rituals that involve my 3-year-old granddaughter Odessa now. Like, everything is a ritual, from when the car honks and I come to meet her in a certain way, and give an expression, the way we go up the steps, what happens when we get in there, and we start with the building of the blocks or whatever it is. Like, everything is ritualized, because she knows exactly what's going to come next. She takes great delight in it. The decision is off of that. How we do the trampoline, how we blow off the leaves, in which way we do this, and when she gets to throw the last one off of the trampoline, the leaf off, and so it's finally done. There's so much that happens in life that's spontaneous, that's unplanned. To be able to have these little places that there's the expectation, and there's the joy of that expectation, and the joy of doing it together. It keeps us from having to decide, to think on the moment, to make all of these decisions. I loved it when we lived in Provence, because food was ritualized completely, including what you ate and the 3 cheeses you had, one soft, one hard, one medium, for dessert, or those kinds of things, because it took the load off the decisions of living, so you could focus on the things that were more important to you. But they bring you to the game when you're tired and exhausted and you can't think straight. And that's so important, because there's sometimes when you get up on the wrong side of the bed, and and you're exhausted and you can't think, wow, and then if you fall into a ritual, it's kind of safe, because your children know what it is there. But I'm not sure all, like, it's you're spontaneously looking for those things that you repeat over and over again, that have worked to bring that kind of nod, smile, grin. So I'm responding like, that worked, so I'll snap that in, right? So it's me learning to ritualize all kinds of things, because of what works with my children.
Yeah, I just realized that it's really hard to reflect on rituals, because the whole purpose of rituals is that you do not think about them,
Exactly.
because you're doing them
Exactly.
automatic. They should be automatic.
That's
So you do
exactly
not
it.
really think, oh, this is a ritual I'm
No.
doing. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
We do not think, oh, there's a ritual. I'm brushing my teeth after, after I
Yes.
wake up. It's just you're doing some
You're
things.
doing something, and you don't always know what your children have ritualized. And it's Joy and I, my wife and I, for so many times we would think, well, that part of the holiday tradition, or that piece of decoration, or that particular thing we did was not really important. We just did it once. And you don't do it. We always do this, the kids would say. We only did it once, but we always do this, and it was really important to do. And so it's more us learning. It's us learning to take away the decision from every moment of the day. Give us a break. Find places where, where we slide along, because we know what's going to happen. And that really worked, to dance with our children. So it's not a sense that we're in an adversarial relationship, or I'm after them, or I'm working. The ritual is play. And that is how the play theorists of some of the deepest play theorists have seen that that um, that ritual is play because there's a beginning and an end. You don't know what its purpose is, or you forget what its purpose is, right? You do, um, and so it gives you kind of a break, and we need all of those breaks we can in today's society.
Another personal question. Do you have any childhood memories around family meals? Moments that left a mark and maybe shaped your own sense of warmth and belonging?
Well, family meals were extremely important in my childhood. Both parents had lived through the Depression when food was scarce. The food that they brought to the table, there was a lot of intentionality around it. For the most part, it didn't come from stores. It came, from somebody you know who's a baker, somebody you know who's a butcher, or you've butchered the half cow, because I grew up in a rural kind of setting. So there was something very special about all of that. I can't say that my mom's cooking was good. All the meat tasted like a shoe leather. And so, there were some things that had to be endured about it. But for the most part, the meals were truly a sense of you could feel your parents' accomplishment. They had got this together, and it was for us, and it was presented, and there was a sense of abundance because they had suffered from scarcity. And so there was this sense of being able to provide for us that they had brought there. So there were many meals were very special times, but because it was rural, especially when the garden provided, and I was very involved in the garden because my father had 3 jobs, so I did the garden and the orchard and the blueberry trees and so on, is that I was often involved in the preparation of the meal. And again, this really makes you invested in it. If you've shelled the peas, if you've, cut the potatoes, if you've been able to husk the corn. There's something that's quite invested in it. And I think this is another part, is that we think that it's just the end time when they come from their screens, when they come from their other activities and so on, and we're not including them in the whole part of this, because so many of us are not rural anymore. We're cut off from any sense of where the food has come from, and how it has prepared. We've got to make the most of it, of being able to get in our kitchens. I remember one family that came to be, highly professional family, and it was doing well, and it was realizing this family all went out to eat. They all did, or eating separately. There was no meeting together. And so here I was, a family, and this therapist, right? The children. So I don't know what to do with you until you start eating at least one meal together, and then we'll find out what's going on and what is happening here. But
Yeah.
this is really important.
Do you enjoy cooking yourself? Are there any special dishes or recipes in your family that have been passed down through generations and carry a piece of your family's history
Well,
story?
I carry the major male role of the male role that loves fire, right? And so the version of that is the barbecue. So we barbecue all the way through winter. We barbecue everything we do, everything, and that is largely my participation and my place on it. So I have participation in most meals? Yes, I do. Do I have participation in whatever the preparation, etc.? Yes, I do. When we're on holidays, my wife and I, we cook everything together, and we go to the market and we buy together, and that's a wonderful dance. But in normal life, we divide and conquer because there's all kinds of things we can't do. But the main meal of the day, which I like to be as late as possible for the kids, so that there's nothing that comes after that. That's the kind of love that I love to do, and to make it last as long as possible is always my goal, and that's always the thing. Like, I think, Gordon, that this has been long enough. The kids need to do this or whatever it is, but I'm always wanting to make it last.
Oh, yeah. Can you share any of your favorite recipe, just maybe one with us?
Oh, the favorite recipes. Well, we live on the West Coast, so I take great pride in doing the salmon and the scallops and those kinds of things in the ways that that truly feel like a feast. And then when we enjoy the land, the beef, the Chateaubriand with the sauces and all of those kinds of things, I love food. And so I can say, what's my favorite food? Well, it depends on what time in the meal it is, you know, like there's a time when chocolate is by far my favorite food, you know, when it's the last and the pairing with the wine. But yes, I, I love it. And again, it's something where there's a sense of celebration around it. I think it pairs together wonderfully.
How does your family usually celebrate Christmas? Are there any Christmas or New Year traditions especially dear to you? Perhaps around food, family gatherings, or the feeding or feeling of togetherness that comes with the holiday season?
Well, we have lots of traditions, but families are complicated things these days, and when your grandparents and you have grandchildren, and everybody has their own families to go to, and also you have some split families, it gets very complicated how you find and navigate your way through. Um, and on your own personal level, any of the traditions, whether it's Thanksgiving, whether it's Easter, whether it's Christmas, accumulate a great deal of sadness around it. And there's a great deal of melancholy because it is those times when you miss those special friends, or you miss those times when the children were younger, or when they were carefree and you didn't have this tragedy or that tragedy. So they always bring to a head those things. And so there's a sense where the more senior members of the family will have a huge melancholy thread, yet it's meant to be a time of celebration. So this is really important, to allow melancholy to be a thread in those, for ourselves, for our children, their places of celebration. But our family traditions start at the bottom up. If you have a 2-year-old in the midst, of course, there's things that you'll be doing with a 2-year-old, and the way you decorate a tree that you don't, use for another child. So they always start from the bottom up because everybody's invested in this. This is where our attention should be. This is the new one to the party, And so if the youngest one is 5, then what are the kinds of things that would be there for a 5-year-old? But in Christmas, we've always stayed away as much as possible from store-bought things, because it's a time of wonderful creativity, of gestures to each other. So homemade things and symbolic things have been always our favorite. And those times when we've actually said no to any store-bought things, when we simply go out the day before in nature and find something that symbolizes what we want to say to another person, have been the most special memories ever. It's hard now. It's easier if you go away someplace and you're going to say no. No, nothing commercial, We're going to do this and find our invitation, our celebration of each other, or we just put something to this, or we've had times when we just go around the table and say, well, something I think you didn't know about me, I'd like to share, to the group. And so we give a little gift of ourselves and we go, around the table this way. We tried many things. We've enjoyed many things. And that particular ritual wouldn't work if you have some small children in there. They have to be more adult children. But really, you take what you have, the resources that would meet them, start from the youngest up, and find something that really connects. This is what you're looking for. This is a time of connection. It's a time of hearth, warmth, light, of connection, holidays of feasting. And so find a time to be able to really get your love across. And that's the whole point of it.
What do you think about wish lists and, like this modern tradition to encourage children to write letters to Santa Claus with like a wish list for the Christmas, what they want to get for Christmas?
Well, first of all, go to the Santa Claus. Please don't put them in reality. Children love to play. They love the wink. They love to know that we're playing dress up. They enjoy the play a lot more than when they find out they've been hoodwinked, that that you've played a trick on them. And so there's no need to do this. With their puppets, they know when they're playing, they know when they're not. So trying to fool them, and thinking that is part of the game. It's not at all. That's what play is about. We can play pretend, and it's much better there. As far as a wish list is concerned, this is a problem. You put the child in the lead of what it is they want. This is a violation of the first rule of the attachment dance, is I know you. I have a sense of you. I know what you like. It puts the receiver in control of what happens. It's a shortcut. We're trying to keep from actually thinking about the other person. We're trying to be able to, keep from making errors, and we don't want any upset. And so we want to be able to guarantee it. But no, these are commercial things. These are things, a lazy parenting. These aren't places of celebration. And so, no, we don't need Santa Claus. And if we bring any mythical creature into this issue, make sure that it is in the play mode. It certainly is. And even if you're very religious, in this context, you're bringing it into the play mode. It's a playful thing. If you're having the visit of the Christ child on December 6th, make sure that it is in the play mode, that the children feel this way, that this is our way of honoring. Playing pretend is part of the great understanding of this. In fact, we could consider religion as acting as if God exists and was attempting to redeem us. We could act as if, and that brings us all on the same board. The atheists in the family can act as if. The believers in the family can act as if. The agnostics in the family can act as if. And it all joins us because we're not trying to say, something deliberate. So it's a way of being back to the celebration, that we realize, well, the bottom line is that we are communicating our love for each other, and that we're celebrating that.